Good day, and welcome to today's Conversation podcast. Today we are privileged to host a former defense minister under the government of President Edgar Lungu, Honorable Richwell Siamunene. Honorable Richwell Siamunene, welcome to today's Conversation podcast.
Thank you very much.
Many people, the last time they saw you, you were Minister of Defense, but they don't know who Richwell Siamunene is. Let's begin with that. Who is Richwell Siamunene?
Well, thank you, Ambassador, for having invited me for this important broadcast. And I value it because it's there to help the community and people to interact with various minds. And I'm a simple Zambian. Coming, of course, born in Choma. I went to the village, Snazongwe, and I did my school there, and later on I got into college. Although I don't want much to talk about that. I don't want to talk about the denomination. I don't want to talk about the church. I don't want to talk about I found that these two things sometimes they limit you. They limit you and divide you. Okay, and later on, I of course I was there in the formation of UPND, and I was there as a youth, and we did what we did at that time. Then I aspired to stand as a member of parliament for Snazongwe. I stood as an independent candidate in 2006, rather, and then I lost with a very small margin.
Let's go back to Snazongwe. Why Snazongwe?
Why Snazongwe is because having grew up from there, and then I was involved in a number of social activities there. Football, I was sponsoring them and all those things, and even helping schools in terms of building materials. When whatever profit that I was getting in Lusaka here, when I was running my business, I was able to share with the community. So I identified there, I knew, because I was coming from there, their need. I knew very well their need, and that's why I participated in that kind of thing. And then, of course, they thought out of their own wisdom and said, you become one to lead us. And I accepted. And with that in mind, in 2011, and I won the election.
So in 2006, you nearly won, but you had stood as an independent
candidate, yes.
Okay.
So when the party saw that, I think
you're very strong.
This time around, the chances are high that even if I stand alone, I'll win. They said, no, don't go anywhere, but come to and we'll give you the seat. And I was, I can say that I was involved in the time when the late Mazoka died, and I was involved convincing now the president to say, look, why can't you think about joining politics and so? So I should think that I was the first one to approach him.
You approached President Hakainde Hichilema?
Yeah, I approached him.
Oh, okay.
We knew each other from the other background, business background, and we were interacting other affairs.
So when we lost President Anderson Mazoka in 2006, and there was that gap and competition, you felt that he was in private practice. Yes. Was he considering to stand, or you're one of the many voices that went to persuade him to stand?
I don't know in his mind, but I thought it's necessary at that juncture that he should take over. And I approached him, why don't you think about contesting and coming and be the leader of UPND? And he did not agree. He said, okay, let's see how it will go. Let's first bury our brother. We buried, and then everyone else, after the name was floated, everyone started courting him to get involved.
Mm.
And he accepted. And
did you participate in the conference? It was a very contentious, fractious conference.
That conference, there were a lot of confusions. And, at some point, there was a gentleman who came from Sinazongwe, Bodwin Chite, who also wanted to, he actually applied and he contested. And then there was another, Sakwiba Skota, that story. Now, there are a lot of accusation and counter-accusation, such that others accused me that I was supporting Bodwin Chite. Others came to say, no, he's in Inilo to Sakwiba Skota, he's supporting Sakwiba Skota, all those. And then when I saw that, okay, I've done my part, they said, let me just be watching now so that the people can do whatever they can do. So that was the
You should look for Mr. Bodwin Chite for me.
Yeah.
I'd like to come and hear his side of the story. He's one of those. Sakwiba participated, and Mr. Chite, and then, of course, Hakainde Hichilema.
Yes. Now, that's how it went. And finally, he won. And we supported him up to the time when the general election came. And that's where the story ends on that part. But in 2011, 2012, I have my personal philosophy. My personal philosophy is that I don't hate anyone. And I don't keep grudge against any individual. And I like to be friends with whoever I know, whoever I come across, that is my friend and that is my brother. I think that's the way to have been relating with you.
Yeah, for a long time.
You are my real brother. We have
True.
We can't mention everything that has happened
between us.
But
we've been brothers.
The truth is that
it didn't matter which camps we were in. We were brothers.
From the time we knew each other, we interacted in Mungu there when you were PS, and I used to, and until when I was posted there. And first, let me state that in 2011, it should be 2011, 2012 there there was a problem in Mwamba Hospital. And it was very difficult that the generator was not operating. And at that time, the provincial minister was
Mausampa.
No. Mariteta.
Obvious Mariteta.
Obvious Mariteta was the provincial minister there under a PF. Then I was puzzled at what I could do myself, because that's a hospital. And there was a power outage at that time, where it is. People approached me that, look, when we have, in case we have, we are in a theater and the power goes, so we lose life.
Lose a life.
Yes.
We lose lives, actually.
They requested me that, look, you are our member of parliament and you are our father, and what can you do? And I said, look, these guys, they are in government, and it's their responsibility to take care of the Zambian people.
Not you,
and these are the Zambian people. These are the Zambian people. I got the courage. I said, look, if I'll be fired, let me be fired today. I will approach Mariteta and say, let's go to the hospital to go and see what's happening there. And I invited him, and he came. We toured the hospital, and he saw for himself.
You was area MP?
Yes, area MP, and was a provincial minister at that time. I think that's where the dichotomy or difference came with
the UPND.
And they didn't take it rightly that I was able to mingle with the PF, who was married at that time. And a lot of sanctions were done, I said, look, for me, I would rather have one term. I don't want to be an MP who gets a salary, then my people are dying. It's better I'm out. And then I do what is right for the people. And that's what happened. And
you were like twins with our dear brother, our mutual dear brother, Grayford Monde. And you were facing similar problems. And I think then President Michael Sata saw what the issue was and capitalized on the harassment from the UPND against you, who were trying to resolve constituency and people's issues using government. And he proceeded to appoint you, I think, Grayford Monde as Deputy Minister at Agriculture, and you as Transport,
Commerce,
Deputy.
Trade and Industry, yes.
Yeah, speak to that period.
Anyway, what happened that time, my father, I would call my father, former president, or the late president, Michael Sata, called me when I was just attending a council meeting. I just got a call, he called me, told me, Iwe, Siamunene, they want to fire you right now. So what you do, I like your commitment. You are a very good young man, and I don't want your politics to be...
Your career.
Political career to be stopped prematurely. I want to appoint you. I said, what do I do? You see, I said, look, if I go, as far as Southern Province is concerned, UPND is very dominant and strong. And the chances of me making it will be very slim, because I knew what was the sentiment coming from the community there. Then later on I said, I have to do it. I think I have to do it. He's a president, and I'm a Zambian. If I'm called to go and participate, I have to agree. Then I agreed, and became the Commerce and Trade and Industry Deputy Minister. And before that, Mwaritet himself took me to State House.
Yes. After you had worked very well on the issue of the hospital.
I didn't know what to do. I was wearing two hats.
Yeah.
One would say, should I? The other one would say, then I got the courage and said, let me just go. Then, in that time when I went there, the late president was having a swearing ceremony at State House. Then he spotted me. And I was behind Mwaritet so that you could not see me. I knew I would see. He would pass a comment. Then he just said, Iwe Siamunene, pray for us. So I was exposed. So I just had to pray in Tonga. So I had to do that, and we ended, and everything as well. And I loved the man. He gave me very valuable advice at that time. He says, look, I'm in politics, I've been in politics for a long time, and I know those whom I know that they have a good political career, I have to protect them, because this country needs you.
Yeah.
That's how. I said, okay, I agree. And I was sworn in. And of course, fighting could not end.
Then they heightened your suspension and expulsion.
All those things. I accepted. I said, look, this I expected. So it did not move me. And I worked there. Then later on, I interacted with then President Lungu, who informed me, but I was not supposed to inform you, but I have to inform you. The president has recommended you to go to Western Province and be the minister there. I said, you know what I'm going through. We discussed with President Lungu there when he was a defense minister. We discussed. Says, no. The president says, the one who can
work there.
Go
and work with your cousins there.
Your cousins and your in-laws. Because your wife comes from Western Province.
Yeah.
So then I accepted. I said, look, these are presidential directives. Let me just go. And I worked there till his death. And later on, after his loss, there was another debate. Others says, look, you were working very well with the late President Michael Sata. now that is gone, why can't you come back and rejoin the party during that campaign? Now, looking at the relationship, and I said, look, I have a good relationship with the PF MPs, and we have worked very well, and everything is okay. And at a time, there's something that happened in Western Province when the then President Lungu visited. He was a Secretary General, I think, at that time. He came there, and the way, the interaction with the Ritunga there, the exchange of presents, and I think from what the traditional, the people said, they whispered to me that he's the next president. Then I whispered to him. I said, look, what has happened?
That gift they've given you.
Yes, you are the next president.
Yeah.
And he didn't want me to leave me there. He said, let's go together to Lusaka. We'll be chatting on the plane. And then we got together, and we came Lusaka.
Just for context, for our viewers, sometimes they might be lost in the particular details. Honorable Richwell Siamunene, you took over from Mwariteta. I think he was brought to Lusaka province and he went to Western province.
Yes. And
at the time of President Michael Sata's death, you were minister in Western province.
Correct.
And then the campaigns happened. And President Edgar Lungu, at the time was Minister of Defense and Minister of Justice, was touring the province.
Yes.
And you had arranged when he was in Western province that he should meet the Litunga.
Correct.
And that's a gift you're talking about, that the president was given a special gift.
Special gift.
Yeah, the walking
stick. If I recall,
you
should be.
Yes, I came.
Yeah, you came. Yeah, my mind is set.
But I was not a government official at the time, but I came in his entourage.
Yes, correct.
So I was just updating our viewers. They might not understand the period you're talking about, but that was the period.
Correct.
So when he was given that gift, you knowing how special that gift, that's why you whispered to the president that this gift is very high. It's like you've been affirmed. Yeah.
You have already been anointed.
Yes.
So it happened that in that manner. And when we came back after the death, we had to sit, I and Malozo Sichon. Yeah. We said, what do? We want this man to be the president. So what we did was said, okay, let's prepare a list. You'll be number one, I'll be number two. And circulate it amongst the members of parliament, those who want to support Lungu from PF. Of course, others rejected, others accepted. So we were one of them who were the first.
You and Honorable Sichon Malozo, you were 1 and 2.
Yes.
So there was a petition to support the candidature of President Lungu.
Yes, correct.
And the initial list came to 65 MPs, and I remember that it was brought to a meeting of Central Committee at Government Complex, and that literally endorsed Edgar Lungu. It didn't matter what Guy Scott did.
Yes.
That list of MPs, and it quickly grew from 65, I think to about 90 or so.
Yes, we campaigned amongst the MPs.
Yes.
I think literally Malozo Sichon and myself crafted that to have that kind of thing. And thank God it succeeded as such.
Yeah.
So, then President Lungu decided I become a deputy minister, withdrawn from Western, and I was deputy minister, Works and Supply and Communication. So I stayed there. I worked under the minister now was Mkanga.
I'm from Mkanga, yes.
Mkanga, yes. And that was the minister. We worked together very well and cooperated very well. He taught me 1 or 2 things here and there. And we learned a lot. I thank him that he was a very good tutor. Yeah. So after that, I was just in the bush in Snazongwe, near the border Zimbabwe, when I got a call from the president that, look, come to Lusaka. Okay, I accepted. Then I got calls from media. No, what? Defense. I said, no, I don't know anything.
So it had already leaked that you had gotten the biggest position in government.
Because I did not expect that, because there were big guys with PF. And me coming from the opposition side, with that an orphan somehow, or a dependent who has just come, not the owners, and then to get that. So I could not believe
it.
Yes, because I did not expect it. And he said, no. When I arrived in Lusaka, I said, what? Why didn't you tell me, Mr. President, that this is what has happened? I was just here. I said, no, it happened that way. You are now. That's how, and it happened. I worked very well with him.
You were one of the youngest defense ministers we've ever had in this country. You're privileged to host that position. First of all, it's very, very senior, even in the hierarchy of the cabinet, from the president, vice president, minister of defense. And you know the kind of people that you are superintending over, service chiefs. Who had these huge defense portfolios. Just speak to us on your job as Minister of Defense. I know you speak about it like it was just something ordinary. It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It's something that I say, at first I say, how do I operate there? Now, having come from the church background where I say, look, we are all made in the image of God. I got my courage. I said, I'm going to serve. God is going to be the one saving. And I operated in that order. We have a huge interaction with the defense chiefs, and we worked very well. And I was able to go out of the country, represent the country, and from all those interaction and discourse, they said no. Honorable Minister, I used to ask them, say, how do I handle this matter? They say, okay, this way, this way, this way. Then later on, after the meeting, I would ask them again. And I said, how did I handle
fair?
I said, no, that was fantastic, Honorable Minister. We did not expect it. I think at one time I even found you in Ethiopia somehow. I suspect.
In South Africa.
Yeah, in South Africa, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And we worked very well with the defense chiefs, very disciplined people who are focused, people who mean business and say, look, when they want to say, look, let this thing be done, and they will execute it without fail. Failure to them is not a question.
An option.
No, not an option. So I have to do it. And you see, I got that kind of spirit. And even myself, I was saying, Commander, I want this thing to be done. So that's how we work. We live on command. So I did my job until 2016 when I contested. I thought the people of Sinazongo thought now, because you are contesting on the PF ticket, we are not going to give you. They gave the UPND.
What happened to you and Honorable Greyford Monde was unfair, because here your constituencies, their own son was given this big position. Your dear brother was Minister of Livestock, I think, at the time, and you're Minister of Defense. But our people in the areas chose politics than to, appreciate the role you were doing. And, you lost those seats, not because you're not able, but just because people were just partisan. Either they are UPND or PF, nothing. No discussion, no merit, no...
Nothing. They will not even look at what you have done.
And you did a lot, by the
way. You see, you have touched a very, very important point. You see, that's where we miss it in Zambian politics. We want to politicize everything. Even when somebody is doing the good job, just because he's standing on the name that you don't want, then you find that a very good person with good ideas loses. And then the people themselves lose again, because they lose a person who has their aspirations, who has their interests. And then you find that at the end of the day, that person who will be voted in will not be loyal to the people, will be loyal to the party hierarchy.
Yeah.
That is a disadvantage in case of the people themselves. And the other thing that is there in Zambia, which we need to cure, is the issue of tribal tags. I think that is, for me, when I grew up, I lived in an area where is near Lake Kariba, and where we were interacting with the Mwansa and the group of those who came from Wapula, fishermen there.
Yeah.
So we lived in that area and that environment. Some they were even village headmen. So for me, a tribe, not an issue.
Yeah.
As long as he's a human being, he is my brother, she is my sister, or whatever. So that is me. Now, even joining a government under the leadership of Michael Sata, who comes from, it was not an issue. I said, look, this country needs to be united.
Yeah.
And the only way this country can be united is to have that kind of composition at every level of governance. Now, if you have, this man wants us to join government, and we refuse, whom are we disadvantaged? We are disadvantaging ourselves. I think we need to transcend from that kind of...
The regional politics is very, very sad, because you have a president that garners support only from one region of the country against the other. You know, I remember what was happening even under Michael Sata and even Edgar Lungu was that some regions said, look, we don't even have our minister in your cabinet. Now, how do you have a minister when you haven't supported the party at local level who should produce candidates that then should be nominated? In fact, the shortcut that both President Michael Sata and Edgar Lungu were using to appoint you was to again look at the country and try to balance that all regions feel represented. But, you know, then there was a backlash from the party, you know, like in your case. So I agree with you entirely that the way our politics have tribalized our political parties, have regionalized our politics, it's not healthy. I think Dr. Kaunda tried very hard to cure that by pushing regional representation and by depoliticizing UNIP and trying to make it a national character party at the time. We need to go back to those drawing boards.
I think where we made the mistake is the issue of when we wanted to change from one party participatory democracy, we did not look at the demerit of that particular system of governance. We should have looked at what are the merits, what are the demerits. So it's not that that system was entirely bad. No, there are certain issues that were good because there was a good thinking from our forefathers. Because at that time when they thought it's necessary to have one party participatory democracy, because there were fights before. We were in a multi-party democracy before.
Yeah.
And they saw that this system is not
was dividing the
working
country.
in the interest of the country. And it is dividing. So let's have this kind of system, and they adopted that. I think the mistake, the system itself was not very bad. The mistake that was made was on the leader himself, Kenneth Kaunda, to perpetuate himself on his stay in power. But if he had decided to say, look, let's have two terms, then after 10 years, he leaves power. Maybe somebody else from north, east, south gets it. That system would have not died up to now, would have been using. Now, because when you have a new leader, then it means that there are new thought, new energy, and other ideas. Then you go like that. Now, that is where we made a mistake. So when we got back into this democracy, so the same thing that happened that time before 1968.
Yes. We went back to
it came back again.
Political violence, regional politics,
we have regional
and
policy
tribalism.
and all those things now. The thing that they were trying to cure, then it has come back. Now, what do we do now?
Yeah.
This is where now the country needs to have people who are critical thinkers, people who are who have the interests of the country. No, people who have no interest say, look, it is this one, it is this one. No, who say, look, how do we then govern
model
ourselves?
our politics,
Our politics.
And to make sure that the democracy doesn't divide us. The democracy should build us and unite us, even in our diversity.
Yeah, you saw what happens. Under this democracy, we lost people. My good friend Kungo died in a very unclear circumstance. And up to now, I'm still crying myself because it was very close to me. We were able to interact. So this is the issue that the people that are involved in politics must come to their real senses and say, look, guys, yes, we have this democracy. Let's look at the merit and demerit of this same thing. Are we on course? Because America, if you want to follow America, they are 100 years or 200 years ahead of us. So the best that we can do is to say, okay, the minds of an African, the minds of America, the way we think, we differ in certain ways. So that we can do is to devise a system for which can work for our situation. So these issues of copycat and see, it is the one that is destroying us. Because there we have now violence. We are not saying violence was only in PF. We agree that, I agree, if you, that it was there. And it's still there. And the question now arises, what do we do in order to arrest?
To cure the political violence in our
political violence.
In the conduct of our politics, yes.
Correct. That is what we should be now. Not saying, no, our party is popular, what? Because if we, you and me, and many others, leave this kind of situation, we will have to be blamed. Because
the seeds sown so far are not very good. The country is very divided, you know, like I'm saying, into regions. And it should never be that if this party comes in, then it's their people to eat. When they are removed again, it's those that have removed them now to eat.
So it is our time.
It is our time to eat.
even corruption,
it's our time to eat.
It's our time to eat. So that is where the problem.
So that's a sickness we
because
need to cure.
Those who are not in power now, they are seeing us, he has bought a car. This man has no car. No, those who are not now, that time, they were also seeing that, then there's money there, we have to, when we get into government, we will take over that bus station, we'll take over that, and all those, I'll be the minister of this is what I will do. So this is not good for our country. This is what is killing the economy, and is also killing our social being as a human being. It's not helping us. And that is
Dr. Kaunda was very deliberate and intentional about uniting the country. For example, when you are being employed as a civil servant, as a teacher, as a health worker, or whatever, he posted you to an area you didn't come from. If you are Siamunene from Sinazongwe, he ensured that you went to Kasama. If you are Emmanuel Mwamba from Kasama, he ensured that you went to Mongu. Very deliberate. He literally forced the social interaction and intermarriages. Because as a young people...
That's how you have Utonga relatives.
Yes, all of us are like that. You know, it's actually wrong to say I'm Bemba, because you find that maybe my children are Muvitas. And all our relatives are like that. You'll have relatives and friends and spouses that are just like that. In fact, the division you see in politics is only in politics. At family level, we interact very well. So I don't know how we allow the ugliness of tribalism to emerge with politics, because our people live together. You know, they intermarry. And, you know, like Dr. Kaunda had said it, as a young man, you are living in Mongu from Kasama, you'll be forced to marry a woman from that area.
Yes, you can't go to Kasama.
No, to look for a woman from there.
Beautiful women.
Before long, you were family. And so he was very intentional and deliberate. Even in his appointments, you know, I had one of your guests, Mohabi Lungu, who revealed, because his father had spent a lot of time, Mr. Mkondo Lungu, in diplomatic service. He was a diplomat. Keke was very clear. If the ambassador is from this tribe, the deputy had to come from another tribe. He was so intentional in his approach. Even among first secretaries, he had to ensure that he balanced. Even in state-owned enterprises, if the top is from this tribe, the deputy would come from there. They would look for people that are qualified from those areas.
True.
So when you read even the Prime Minister of Singapore's book, Lee Yuan Kwan, he was also very deliberate in uniting and forging unity in the country. It can't be left to the merits.
I love that man, the way his policies.
Yeah.
I think when he was leaving office, I think he was called at some point. He said, look, respect the systems
I
that
created. Yeah.
Because if you are governed by systems, then you are assured that the country will prosper.
Yeah.
If you are governed by men and women, then you have a problem. You have the issues where you were brutalized.
Yeah.
Because there was an instruction from somewhere.
Yes.
Can you go and... Because the police officer will not resist that order. Because he feels that if I don't do what this one wants me to do, I may lose my job. They are not protected. And we are not saying right now, this thing, Ambassador, let's agree. The only thing that we should do, how to build this country, is to agree that in the previous regime, there were such things happening as well. And then you have these leaders now who come in and find the system porous. And what they do, they use the same system and choke those who are not in power.
We are repeating the crimes. We are repeating the wrong things.
Correct.
Instead of curing the wrong things.
Yes, that's what is happening right now. The same system you and me left is the same system that is being used to whip us now.
Yeah.
So what do we do now? Is there to agree that our system are not good for the future. Let's put the system that looks at the welfare of all Zambians, regardless of where they are, whether they're in opposition, whether they're in power. One must be subjected to that kind of a system.
Yeah.
And that system must be tight enough to put punitive measures for those who are going to violate such. Not a system of which we have right now. We'll be crying day and night. Those who are not in power will be crying. So those who are in power now, there is no human rights violation. There is no ethical rights violation. Everything is in order. But those who are not in power now, there is a violation of human rights. There is no justice. There is no. So this is where we are now as Zambia. I think we must come to terms with the reality and say that, look, these are all effects of not a strong laws and
not building systems and not following the rule of law. We are following the rule of men.
What if you have another person who will get in power later? Because not those and those who are here there now. Later, after some time, you have a cantankerous leader. Then he will cause the Zambia to go to war.
True.
Because he's not guided, or she or he is not guided by statutes. So that is where I find it very difficult for me. And some people find it very difficult to really read where is the Siamunene now? What is he? Because I've looked at the whole entire process and systems that we have, which are vulnerable for manipulation if one desires to do that.
Okay, in fact, that brings me to the good question. We have a tradition here where we review our past presidents, all of them, including President Hakainde Hichilema. We look at what did they do well? What could they have done better? What do you think are things they did that we should perpetuate? Then I come to you to give your reflections about your aspirations for our country. Let's start with our founding president, Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda.
I think David Kaunda, he did very well. Everything was okay. I think the only issue that I can point at, he became drunk with power. He overstayed in that position. And therefore, the country became his own household. And we will not forget that sometimes we would say, stupid Zambian, stupid what? You know what? Everyone was fearing, even the journalists at the time, to ask questions. You'll be, you will be gripped with fear of some kind. And that is where he overstayed. And when you overstay, then you tend to behave like the way Koswe behaves when he has to oversight the house. He will be coming, he knows when the owner of the house will come and he will be staying around, you see. I remember that time before I brought a cat.
Yeah.
So we could see, this Koswe there. Until the cat was brought, then that's when
it disappeared. And behaved.
So what I'm saying that that's where he got it wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. He should have handed over the power to those his own compatriots, those people who are closer to him, the prime minister.
We saw his compatriot in Tanzania, Julius Nyerere, when he resigned in 1985. He was at the height of his popularity. But he said, I've done my best. I've set up systems. And Julius Nyerere's founding party remains in Tanzania the ruling party. I think also the changes of presidents does help in regeneration of a political party. We've seen it in South Africa and mostly in Namibia, where every time they change president from Nuyoma to others, you see the regeneration. We've seen it in Botswana. So you are right. Dr. Kaunda probably, despite all his achievements, the overstay in power then, he made the ruling party suffer and even lose power because there was no regeneration of leaders at the top. Dr. Frederick Jacob Titus Chiluba.
Well, Titus, I think the thing that I can say about him is that when they got into power, there was the issue of IMF, structural adjustment program, all those poverty reduction strategies, all those things. And they themselves knows that the only way to rejuvenate the economy was to sell the state-owned company that were not performing at that time. I think that way we did not look at the disadvantage and the advantage of having state-owned company, and we did not pin out where the problem was. The problem was not those companies were bad. It was issue of management. If they had put correct management with stringent laws and the guidelines how they are supposed to operate and deliverables, I think those companies
remove political interference.
I think those companies would have been operating by now. Now, when they decided to sell those state-owned companies, and then poverty also increased because there was jobless. And those who bought those companies, they uprooted those good machines which were supposed to be used for future. They uprooted and they took them somewhere else because they were now private owned. So they could do anything that they wanted. So that is where, when we decided to say, okay, let's move the hands of government from these businesses, we should have looked at some of those industries were strategic for government to participate as well. In case of something, then you'll be held at ransom by others, those owners of those companies. So if you don't do this, we're not going to supply this particular commodity, which is essential to the Zambian people. So I think that is where I could say Dr. Kaunda lost it. And of course, there was that's when the corruption started in Chekereko. That's when things, because the people were vulnerable at that time. And we just wanted a change. So in this case, there was MMD, but planning to say, how do we were relying on the foreigners to tell us what to do. And that's a danger. That's a great danger. If you rely on the foreigners to tell you, if you rely on these organizations, these institutions,
IMF,
to tell you IMF,
Bank.
whatever, or the bank, and to tell you what to do, then you are not thinking. And if you are not thinking, there is nothing that will happen. And you go back to the station where you came from. And that is why we are here today. Because of the selling of those state-owned companies. And you, just to add on, because you and me knows that these companies that are coming from China, which are in Zambia right now, which are doing well, some they are state-owned companies.
Yes.
They are state-owned, most of them, they are state-owned companies from the provinces. They come here and they compete, although they are not
the private sector. And they look like they are private sector when they are state-owned enterprise. They are parastatals.
Yeah, but they are doing very well.
Yeah.
Why can't we get that model? Okay.
Levi Patrick Manawasa.
Levi Patrick Manawasa, he died. He did very well. He died. The areas that we can point at because of his stay there, because that's when the economy picked up and we were doing very fine at that time as a country. I think he did very well. He did very well.
Okay. Rupia Bwezanbanda.
Rupia Bwezanbanda also, his stay in the office was very short. So to point at issues that happened that time, he only did 3 years. And of course, their corruption was still
an issue
within their system, that people could do things arbitrarily without checks and so on and so forth. And as a result, others thought that they own Zambia and they were doing things in a manner not in the interest of the country. So I think there's no much but corruption was still evident.
You already called Michael Sata my father, that you've called him my father, and you've already, I think, reviewed him together with President Lungu when you were discussing your appointments, but you can give your reflections on the two.
Yeah, basically the issue what we did, which I can point out, because I like to be factual in my analysis. The only issue that we can talk about Michael Sata was maybe the economy was doing fine, and then the man came, he knew the country. He had traversed the whole country. If you tell him any village, he will tell you that this village, this village, this village. I remember that time. Sorry, I missed that. When he told me that I want to appoint, I said, Mr. President, I agree that you can appoint me, but do one thing. He said, I know what you want. But how? You want the bottom road. I said, that is a payment for my people.
Yeah. And
I said, no, look, where does it start from? I said, no, if it will start from Sinazonga, I will not be a good person, because that's where I come from. So let it start from Chirundu, somewhere there in Siavonga areas. And we started doing that. Yeah. I think that was a payment for me to join government. Yeah, I think that is for infrastructure development. The man had the plan that let's open the country, put up roads and so on and so forth. Of course, some of the roads that were being done or were areas where it was done, it was not economic. We must point out certain areas were not economically active, such that it will generate immediate funding.
So these are long-term investment.
Yeah.
You know, when Dr. Kaunda set up roads, and set up a 10-kilometer roads. First of all, if you look at the design plan for Dr. Kaunda, he didn't want people to settle along the road. He took a road, in many times 10 kilometers inside, because he knew that as the country grew, then they will come to the roadside. If you put them in the roadside, they will never, the interior will never be developed. The investment done may not give you immediate return.
Correct.
If you do, for example, the bottom road, the investment may return after 50 years, but you'll have done the foundation for then businesses to go and locate along Kariba and up to Sinazongwe. Not all investment will be cash like the Chirundu-Lusaka road or Lusaka-Ndola dual carriage that can bring you immediate. Other investment to open our country, the returns will be long-term. And it's only government that can do it. The private sector will never invest in an area where there is no good road, there is no power. Government has to do those deliberate investment. So I agree with you.
So that is the only thing. And then President Lungu took over. And the only thing that we can point at is, of course, the violence was
by cadres.
Cadres. The cadres sometimes were uncontrollable to a certain extent that the public got fed up. And that was a major reason why PF was voted out of power. I think we must acknowledge that fact. That's a fact.
No, in fact, when when the emotions are down and you write the history of our country, like I always get puzzled by Rupia Banda's loss of power. The economy was doing well. We had $4.5 billion foreign reserve. The exchange rate was stable. Milk prices were stable. He was rolling out infrastructure, but he lost power to Michael Sata. One issue of corruption. Edgar Lungu and Michael Sata, look at the unprecedented development of roads, bridges, airports, power stations, But political violence came and haunted them. And the party was voted out of power.
And the other thing that added to that, I would point, although other people may not like it, but I like to be factual.
Yeah.
That is my analysis.
No, that's the point of the conversation.
Yes, that's my analysis.
That's why we invite you.
When I looked at I would say that I'm a phenology who looks at the cycles. Yeah. When you look at what happened in 1991, the Zambian people were fed up with UNIP. Whatever UNIP would have done, nothing was going to please them because they wanted a new government.
Yeah, they wanted change in 1991.
Yes. So UNIP was removed. And it came in 2011.
It didn't matter what Rupiah Banda or the MMD, the people were tired of them.
There is a group of the voters that says now we are at the determining point. So that when we vote, these are the 1 million votes that gave the current president now. They said no. At that time in 2011, that MMD, the party itself was, to the Zambian people, expired.
It was done.
Expired.
It had done 20 years.
Expired.
Even if Rupiah Banda was a new president, was 3 years old.
3 years.
And the economy was doing well. They said no.
No. And then it came now.
The PF 10 years later.
10 years later. I remember very well at one time I wanted to discuss with my president. I said, my president, we have to do something extraordinary. Yeah. Now, I was not given that chance because I wanted to give him the story of Chiruba.
Yeah.
Chiruba in 201, you remember there was the issue of
the third term issue.
Now, when he looked at the political history of the country, says the only way to survive here is to bring
a new candidate
under the same. So that neutralized MMD's
10-year stay in office.
10 years stay in office. But otherwise, you remember what happened that time, Anderson Mazoka and
he nearly won.
Yeah, he nearly won. Other circles, they say he won, and there was some engineering of some kind. That's it. But that's a
but the MMD got a new lease of life by having a new president.
New president, correct. So that is what I wanted to whisper, to say, look, why can't we do something extraordinary? But I didn't have that chance because I was not in cabinet that time, and to see the president was, we have to make a appointment here and there. So I want to speak the facts. That is what is in me, and that's what I wanted to give the president that time and say. So Chiruba used that kind of method, and there was a new list for MMD. Now, in 2021, I myself, I was even saying, Apa, game ya kosa. I don't know, but if you have to look at the political history of the country, the chances of PF winning are very slim. Because Zambians, that's the way they behave. They can tolerate you, and then the next day they will say, we have to get another party now to
replace you.
Yeah. So that is my personal view, and I had that in mind before the election, but I was not the chance.
You didn't have the opportunity to see the president. Okay.
My good president.
And then your dear brother, you're one of the founder president of the UPND. You participated, of course, as an independent in Snazongwe in 2006. That was your first venture. 2011, you succeeded. You chose to work with the PF. UPND finally had their dream, their ruling party, and President Hakainde Hichilema, who you had proposed, by the way, to contest the UPND president as president. What's your reflection of him and his rule?
Well, I speak my mind. He has been in office for 2.5 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And, so far, he has come at a time when, of course, he has never been in government before. And the issue of government, Zambia is is a country, and is a country that has to have handover notes, taking over to say, this is what we have done, this is what we... Mind you, I would tell you that I did not hand over myself. I had no chance to hand over. Why do we have a system whereby you cannot hand over? So you need to take over from your predecessor, and your predecessor must tell you exactly what has happened. And you start from somewhere. If you go and start from zero, and you think that whatever that my friend did or whatever was not correct, sometimes by the time you people realize what your ideas to come into fruition, it will take 5 years. And 5 years, the people say, no, I think you have not delivered to what? So there are promises that we make. Certain promises that we make, sometimes they are too huge to meet when you are actually doing the thing. So, but however, I would state that he is still in power.
Yeah.
How, sometimes in football you can be 4-0
down,
4-0 down, and recover and win the match, or it comes. So I don't know. But present, as we are talking right now, I think the sentiment that are coming from, we hear the sentiment from the people.
Yeah.
They are not good. They are not favoring because of issues that surround his administration right now, all those things. It's up to him. I don't want to judge because he hasn't finished the
5-year term.
So if you call me in 2025, somewhere there, I will tell you exactly, to say this is how things are now. But for now, there are certain things that has not been done.
Yeah.
There are certain things that were promised and that have not been fulfilled, which need to be fulfilled. But since they are still running, they are still in the process, maybe I will say, no, he has failed. Maybe later on, he is going to recover.
In fact, that's my question. The economy is very bad. The high cost of living is really biting our people. There's just no money. Your background is that of a business person, and you know how hard the economy just very hard.
True.
And there's no economic recovery plan that I have seen. I look at the 8th National Development Plan. I don't know if that can form a recovery plan. And I wonder if they will manage a comeback. You were a minister under Michael Sata and under President Lungu. You were part of government. Then you were in opposition before. From your trends that you've been watching, I know you are posting notice that we should come and ask you in 2025. But I'll still ask, do you think he will recover, that the UPND will recover and maybe win 2026? Because things are looking, like you were saying, very grim.
No,
I give an analogy that Dr. Kaunda would say, we are in the tunnel. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Like we can see our way out. And people are saying, with the trouble with the UPNDs, we haven't even dug the tunnel yet to see the light outside the tunnel. I don't know what your reflections are. Will they recover?
Well, they are saying they will recover.
Okay.
They are saying that they will recover. All is okay. But you see, the Zambian constitution gives 5-year mandate.
Yeah.
The 5-year mandate tells us that that's when the Zambian people will make judgment and say, look, we gave you 5 years. You told us we are going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 deliverables. And these deliverables they have not been achieved, or you have achieved 1 out of 5. And because of that, this is not what we expected. Okay? Right now, there is no one who will say that the economy is performing well.
Yeah.
It's common knowledge. Even it's big felt. I'm feeling it. People, they are calling me from the village, asking for 100 kwacha every day and all sorts of things. That means that the money in circulation is not there. It means that somewhere, things are not going on well. That is the truth. Now, to conclude that, okay, within these people, they are completely failed, That's not what my prayer is. I will tell you that. My prayer is for them to succeed. Why do I want them to succeed? I want them to succeed because it affects me. Because once they fail, it means that the country has failed. And so I'm still praying hard that they do something extraordinary that will rejuvenate our economy so that people have the means of income. They are able to afford to buy commodities that are essential to their being. So that is my prayer. So
Yeah,
that's
good.
why they still have time. I'm praying that they recover. Because once they recover, then we have all recovered. And that is my prayer. My prayer will always mean that even you, when you come in power, that is why I joined Mama Sata. And I don't want to abandon my philosophy. I want leaders to succeed.
Yeah.
Those who are given the responsibility to run the affairs of the country, my prayer always is that, please succeed. If I can offer advice from this podcast, let me give it, so that if they are going to use it and succeed, that is okay for me. I think that is my view. I'm a different politician because I rejected the UPND not to tell me you don't support Michael Sata.
Yeah.
I said, no. He is my president.
Yeah.
And I have to treat him in that order. If you don't agree with my philosophy, my personal philosophy, let it be. I would rather remain alone and I live with my principles.
Yeah.
So in this case, they are still running.
You are wishing them a recovery. You want them to succeed.
I don't want to be the prophet of doom. Because once doom happens, they are drivers. They are driving now our country. So if they are drivers, whether we like it or not, they are driving our country. And this, I said it even the time, you remember in Monzo when the people booed the former president, Edgar Lungu. I said, no, this is not right. He is our president. Regardless of what, this is not right, and I will not support this kind of thing myself. And I remain like that, and I will remain like that, in that order of things, and because I know that they are
Good. I have two last questions. First, you come from Sinazongwe. Sinazongwe and Mwamba have a huge resource called coal. And the climate change issue is discouraging investment in coal. But coal is a quick investment. China has refused to abandon investment in coal. What they are doing is to support green energy, solar projects, hydro projects. At the same time, they are still investing in coal. The resource we have in coal can drive our energy and Southern Africa for the next 200 years. That asset that is sitting in Sinazongwe and Mwamba. And what are your views about it?
That one, Your Excellency, Ambassador Mwamba, I think I had hinted this information to one of the people that are closer to the president, because there was so much talk about clean energy, all those, then creating the ministry to look at that aspect. I say, look, this is we are risking, because we are depending right now. Is it 80% of our electricity generation is from hydro, isn't it?
Up to 90%.
Up to 90%. So we have only 10%. So in case we have drought for 2 seasons, it means this country will be grounded to a halt. Now, I said, look, let's have a mix. Let's have solar is not guaranteed, but is also effective. It can be used at a certain scale. Now, for coal, we should not abandon, because at the level where we are now, economically, Britain used coal to reach where they are. America used coal. China is using coal. Why should they tell us right now to say we don't have to use coal? We are risking our economy. Let's leverage whatever that we have, the core resource that we have, let's use it to drive our industries. In fact, what I can tell you is that the same thing that they fear, there is a technology now where they can trap that gas so that the emissions
are limited.
So that can, why don't we say, look, give us this technology, because we only have this resource. We want to have a mix. So let's utilize those resources that we have, the core resource that we have in Sinazongwe there. It can help this country. Actually, they can generate, as you have said, more power. In the time
no,
of
we can have
season,
the Mamba Collieries.
export.
Mamba Collieries is doing 300 megawatts. And the turnaround of the investment is very short. You can put up those coal-fired furnaces within a period of 6 to 12 months to 18 months, and you can have plants. You can have many plants. And the reserves you have, like I said, it can power Southern Africa.
Yeah.
So that our dependency...
I think that's a good advice too.
Our dependency on hydro is limited, because even this same climate issue is what is affecting our power stations that are driven by water. You have less rainfall, you have less reserves than to generate your power. So we need to have that debate. Yes, we need to balance our emissions in light of climate change. We know that there is less funding for projects like coal. It should be government to drive those projects.
No, if for example, if you look at how much we spent that time when we were importing, it could be within the region of putting another coal-fired thermal plant.
Yes.
So I think that government just need to get involved. Because at the end, when we have enough, when we have good rain season and then we have enough, we can easily export. So basically for us, I think if we are to grow at a rate that we want, let's leverage.
On the resource that the Lord has given us.
Because you see, it means, Ambassador, you are insulting God. By not using it. He says, look, I gave you these resources. I knew that you need them. Because whatever that we have available in the country, God planned for it to exist there for a purpose. So if we violate the purpose, maybe that's why he has not given us the good rainfall. He said, look, I gave you coal.
You mix your energy source.
So I want to teach you a lesson that you get back to what I gave you. So we utilize it. That we have, if we have 50-50 hydro and coal-fired, we have 50-50. That will
be balancing.
I think that's the way we should move as a country. This is not to be a party issue. This should be a government policy. So whoever comes into power must leverage all the resources that we have, and they must benefit the Zambian. Imagine if we deny the chance for that core there, and then the villagers, they are working on top of core. If we put up those things now, the benefit will be huge.
Both to the area and to the country.
Yes, to the country. We say, no, emission. If I ask you, what percentage are we contributing to the emission? Zambia. It's a 0.00000.
Our carbon footprint is very, very, very low.
So why should we?
And countries like Germany have refused to shut down their coal plants.
No, they have refused. Even in South Africa. You remember, South Africa has their own bid. What percentage? That should be...
for South Africa, they depend heavily on coal-fired plants.
Yes. So those are the things that are playing. Why should we be held at last of ourselves? Let's live as ourselves. Let's live the way we want to live. Those who are influencing us to make certain decisions, they have come from that kind of a situation where they used coal to drive their industry. Now they have reached somewhere, then they will tell you, now, don't use this. No, I think we say, look, when we reach your level,
then we are going to reduce our investment in the so-called dirty energy.
I think that would be better that way.
Honorable Siamunene, have we last seen the political Siamunene? What is your future in politics? You remain young. You're one of the youngest ministers of defense. You are still very young politically. So have we seen the last of you? What are your prospects?
Well, Ambassador, sometimes it's important to hibernate. You go and
you have done enough hibernation from 2016 to date. You've done a lot of hibernation.
So you do that and you watch from the terraces, see how the other. I like to give chance to people.
Okay.
Let them work, so that when they fail, they will not say this one has done, this one has done. But otherwise, we are still watching what happens. And then when it is appropriate, when it is appropriate, when we see that I think things I could contribute differently from what is being contributed, I think the country still needs us. The country still needs us.
Yeah.
At an appointed time, maybe we'll say, you will come and convince me and say, get back to policy. But it's not far-fetched.
Okay.
We still have, as we have said, we still have life. I'm sure the country still needs us. Those who live after us still need our contribution so that we are able to do things that will better their lives after we leave ourselves.
Wonderful, wonderful. Richwell Siamunene was our guest. He was one of the youngest ministers of defense, superintending in one of the most powerful portfolios in our country. Your last words as we close.
My last word, Ambassador, would be, I think in terms of our values in Zambia, I would implore that we don't love each other. If the ambassador is running a company because he's in opposition, so me, I'm in government, I want to see his business grounded. I think that is not right.
Yeah.
That is not right. Whoever becomes the president, becomes the minister, you are there to save the Zambian people, regardless of their political affiliation. If there is anything, you should protect those companies that they are not tempered with the political hooligans and so on and so forth. Let the company exist because the people that you have employed, maybe some of them voted for those in government. Maybe some of them, they support those in government. How do you know? So you are, and at the end of the day that you are paralyzing the economy because maybe that company was contributing in terms of tax and cents. So let's leave the business to thrive. That is the only way this country can move forward. This political inclination and so on will not work. Sometimes, if somebody, of course, is supported the other one and he has a very good business proposal, he has got an idea, why not support him? You are not supporting that person. You are supporting the country because the country is run by ideas. Okay? America today, they can boast of who they are, or China. They are saying they will create billionaires. Why? Because those people have got ideas. So we don't need to look at this one is Bemba, this one is Tonga, this one is what. So even when people are working in government, if they find that the one who is the president is from another province, those others from other provinces, they will work in fear. That maybe I'm the next one to go. Even if making certain decisions, they are not able to make because of living. Why can't we have another Zambia? Where people are living freely, they are executing their duties as Zambia, not as this Tonga, Luvale, Elozi, what? No, I think love in this country is not there. We pretend that we are a Christian nation. In a real sense, we are not, because God is love. And God doesn't, his love is universal. It's blind, it doesn't choose that this one is what, this one is just love. Why can't we inculcate that kind of thing? Yeah. As
God gives rain for no households.
Even those
he doesn't look. He doesn't say no, these are sinners. He gives us all rain. He gives us all sunshine.
And if we are Christian, why can't we emulate God? Why can't we emulate? Jesus said, no, there is no Jew, no Greek, no Gentile. We are all children
of God.
Why can't we live in that order? I think that's the Zambia that I want. So that's why sometimes, when I was the PF, some of the officials from PF accused me of UPND because I was mingling and interacting with the UPND. When I was
UPND and
because I was interacting with you and the others. They
say it's PF.
But how? No, I think this kind of mindset is not right. It's not beneficial to the country. That is why there is no handover. That you start again. It's supposed to be relay.
Yeah.
You pass the mantle to the next and give him the guide. This is how we were. When I was in China, this is what I agreed. This is what I agreed. This is how we are going to start. Then those who have assumed the office now will start from somewhere, because it's a country that wasted a lot of money sponsoring that person to go to China and negotiate, or to go to London or any other place to go and negotiate. It's a country that there was resources that were spent on that particular person to have that trip. So why can't we have a system that we are able to hand over and have a general plan for the country? Say that, look, our plan as a country, Zambia, is this. So whoever comes to be our next president
will be guided
by this particular plan and implement. This is what you want to see Zambia in the next. No alteration, and it's there. The only thing that if you want to do that, it feels that certain fundamentals, or because we are living in a dynamic world and things change. If you feel that certain things do not add up, you have to take it somewhere, maybe to Parliament, and say, look, we want to alter there. And they must be convinced that you are. Right? You and me and the aid, we don't know. That time, those who were in opposition, they didn't know how much PF borrowed. And those who are now, we don't know how much
they have borrowed.
How much they have borrowed. I think there must be a guide. You are not running your company, you are running a national affair, which every Zambian must agree with you what you are doing by way of having that National Assembly. So we are not utilizing that. That's my view. That's my last word.
No, wonderful, wonderful, and very enriching words. I feel sad when sometimes I hear that civil servants were fired because they think they are PF, or because they think they are from this region, or that they are UPND, they are fired like that. I think we need to have a fresh start for our country, love our country, and love each other, like you have stated. So, dear viewers, until next time, we had Honorable Richwell Siamunene, one of the youngest defense ministers, and is still contributing to the welfare of our country, as our guest. Join us when we host another special guest. God bless you, God bless our country, and shalom, shalom.
Thank you.